Throughout the few months I've been into Class of '09, a common rhetoric I see from my friends and other people who are fans of the game is that Nicole is a bad person. Even the 13-year-olds who think being mentally ill and a drug addict is cool even concede that Nicole did quote unquote messed up stuff. Now, I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. I don't think Nicole is a saint. I think she's mentally unstable in many regards due to her childhood. However, I don't think she is evil incarnate like a lot of people think. I want to make one thing clear. This is not supposed to be an objective analysis. This is just my moral viewpoint of Nicole. If you believe she is an awful person, I completely understand why. I'll try my best to cover everything Nicole did in the first game and a good portion of the second. I haven't fully completed re-up, that's a lie. So there is a good chance I am wrong. Now on to the actual analysis. I noticed Nicole isn't as awful as people portray her to be. For example, in the beginning of the first game, if you choose to let Crispin give you a school tour, you can see Jeffrey get bullied by a generic joke that I really do not care enough to search the name of. Nicole bothers to help Jeffrey in one of the choices you make, and in return, Jeffrey is a complete douchebag to her, and arguably sexist towards her. Many times in a lot of routes, Nicole ends up helping her peers. She gets pedophiles arrested and even tries to call out the white nationalist teacher and put an end to the white nationalist craze in her school. Granted, it did end up with her school being burnt to the ground or her best friend getting arrested, but that's not necessarily her fault. You could say these people sort of brought it upon themselves. In the suicide route, she even tries her best to hang out with everyone from the school, even though she didn't like any of them. In return, those men repaid her with slut shaming over a rumor started because her pedophilic coach couldn't take no for an answer, which led to her killing herself. Now, a common argument I've seen against Nicole is that she's rude, a misandrist, and impulsive, which is something I don't blame her for. First of all, Nicole is a teenager. I think most teenagers are impulsive and do tend to be rude. I, and a lot of other people I know, have been guilty of being impulsive when we were teenagers. Personally, from my experience, I often hear stories about how teenagers tend to be dicks and tend to do stupid stuff. Not to mention, Nicole has suffered from a lot of trauma as a child. Her mother is physically abusive, as shown in the opening of the re-up, and a prescription drug addict who barely ever tries to understand Nicole or her problems. In the suicide ending, she flat out deserts Nicole and doesn't even bother to hear her out. Her dad flat out committed suicide in front of her, which she has admitted has messed her up. She also seems to have an attachment to him, as evident by her mentions of him in the routes. What the fuck is this? In which she dies. Her brother is a pedophile who has no problem talking about her body parts to her face. I am not saying trauma excuses a person's actions, but I do think this is something to consider when talking about Nicole. As for Nicole's misandry, I wouldn't call it misandry. I think it is a self-defense mechanism. It seems Nicole's life, men have done nothing but wrong her and continue to wrong her, i.e. suicide route. Her teachers are pedophiles, her dad introduced her to the concept of revenge suicide, and her classmates are people who only talk to her in hopes of getting sex, one of them being a rapist and the other did rape the girl. I think it's natural for her to have the mindset of being wary of men, especially after the experiences she has had with men and the men in her life, especially since when she does try being nice to them, it would end up with her killing herself. Personally, I think all of her actions are justifiable. I want to emphasize that justifiable and justified are two different things. As Fuss, in his video essay on why Walter White, another innocent character portrayed as evil, was innocent video. In short, justified means actions that are already justified, while justifiable meaning those actions are not justified but in certain circumstances are justifiable. Now, let's address some of her quote-unquote bad actions. Lying about sexual assault in court. This is one of the few cases where I have to bite the bullet and say Nicole did slightly something wrong about lying about sexual assault. However, her actions did lead to some good by her exposing the school for having pedophiles working in their faculty. Bullying Jeffrey. All I want to say is this: Jeffrey isn't innocent. He is a weeb. He is the main antagonist and a purely evil force throughout the games. Nicole did the right thing by exposing his actions to the school. Him shooting up the school because of Nicole exposing his dark truth to the school proves it. Jeffrey is not as innocent as people believe. I'd argue he is a completely antagonistic force throughout the games. I will make a post one day discussing how Jeffrey is an antagonist aligned with people like Thanos from the MCU or the Joker. Now, as for abusing Ari. Ignoring the fact that Ari painted Nicole as homophobic and forced her into a hostile relationship in one of the routes, Ari is literally annoying. Not only does she have awful taste in movies and shows, seriously, Drake and Josh, iCarly is so much better. She also has an awful taste in hair dye, which I think was an intentional move by the creator. Ari's hair is red. Red is a color that, according to Wikipedia, symbolizes sacrifice, danger, and courage. It is also the color of Satan himself. Ari quite literally is Satan. While I think CBN3 clearly intended to be the case, Nicole is supposed to represent Christ in this instance, who will put Satan in his place and show him how much of a beta male he truly is. So in short, Nicole was literally trying to fight off a representation of pure evil. Ari, like Satan, tried tempting Nicole, who would be Christ in this instance, and when that didn't work, Ari moved on to her next victim, Hunter. Now for the big one, getting her mother killed just because she wanted to snort some prescription drugs. Now personally, I think Nicole's mom simply just had a skill issue. Now on to the other one, becoming a drug dealer. Now I would bite the bullet on this one as well, but I think CBN3 had a clear underlying message with this role, that Nicole is actually an alpha female who is putting betas like her teacher and her principal in her place, which is genius writing on the behalf of CBN3 and his team. Brilliant, I'd say. Now for one of the big ones, her revenge on Megan. As established before, CBN3 had the clear intent of making sure the audience knew Nicole is an alpha female, shoplifting, taking / selling drugs to prove she doesn't confide by the rules. No, she makes her own rules. In this instance, Megan, a clear beta, tried challenging Nicole's position as alpha. So in turn, she puts the beta in her place by making sure she not only steals the beta's boyfriend and make him her bitch, she publicly humiliates the beta to send a message. The beta even tried getting on good terms with the alpha too, which is a no-no. Nicole, as an alpha, had to put the beta in her place and let her know she is the top dog with W Riz. Now, in conclusion, Nicole is an often misunderstood character. She is in fact one of the most righteous characters in fiction. I'd put her up with amazing good moral characters like Superman, Luke Skywalker, and Spider-Man. She is a person who did a lot of good things and is one of the most righteous and well-written protagonists in video game history. Bravo CBN3 and his team for writing such a wonderful character. Now, join me next time where we dissect Arvi and explain why she's actually the true antagonist of Class of 19. Just scrap what I said about fucking Jeffrey for a second. I know it contradicts me saying he's the main antagonist, but like I changed my mind midway through. Just shut the fuck up and accept it.
Nicole, what the actual fuck are you doing?
I am kissing the Western Wall to pledge allegiance to Israel. Glory
Nicole,
to Allah,
what
we
the
will
fuck?
destroy
That's not
Palestine
even the
and
right
Israel
religion.
will rule the world
What the
as
fuck,
Allah is.